Good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of our Street Fighter documentary, franchise documentary. I'm delighted to be joined this evening by the one and only TJ Storm, who voiced the role of Birdie in Street Fighter V, an iconic video game in 2016, which was produced by Capcom, which sold millions and millions of copies all over the globe. And I suppose, TJ, in terms of fighting games, in terms of mixed martial arts sort of a background, were you sort of growing up, was that always something that you had a real passion for?
Oh man, between really training in the martial arts, which I've done my entire life, and playing video games, especially playing Street Fighter, which was one of the first arcade games that you could just throw your quarters into and fight your friends. Heck yeah, it was a blast. It was an absolute blast.
And you mentioned playing Street Fighter, the arcade games. Had you sort of a favorite character back then? Were you a Bison, or you were a Ryu, or a Kid?
I will tell you the truth. In fact, I'll tell you a story. I was at a place called Jerry's Deli, and I just come out of the deli, and right next to Jerry's Deli in Los Angeles is a bowling alley. And I knew there were video games in there. So I ran into there just on my way out, and I was like, maybe I'll just get a quick game with my favorite character. So I jumped on the game. There's already a guy standing there, and he was tall, slim guy. And I jumped on the game, and I chose my favorite character, Chun-Li, and I started playing this guy. And I want to say the guy either played Dalsim or what's the big wrestler's name? Zangief?
Zangief, yeah.
Zangief. And that tall, skinny guy kicked my ass. He destroyed me, and I was like, I don't have any more quarters. And I looked at him like, all right, good game. I didn't realize it. It was Leonardo DiCaprio. He had his cap on like this, and he's like, good game. And I was like, oh. I thought that was so cool. But everybody plays, man. Everybody has played Street Fighter one time or another. We all grew up. If you were into video games, you went through your Street Fighter, your phase, you had your favorite character, and you played the game religiously, and at least you got okay with your character.
So a revelation revealed here this evening. Leonardo DiCaprio, an arcade Street Fighter fan. That's going to make headlines anyway all over the world. TJ, in terms of your acting career, a real blossoming acting career in terms of movies and appearances, and especially around the martial arts, how did it come about for you to get involved? Obviously, you were a fan of the Street Fighter franchise, obviously, by your talks. How did it come about for you to get involved in it? Was it mere luck or mere fate, or?
I work on a lot of video games, whether I'm voicing them or doing performance capture and motion capture in them. I work on a lot of video games. I voiced a lot of things. I was on Resident Evil 5. I've worked on Soul Calibur. Of course, I've worked on Street Fighter. And as a performance capture artist, as an actor, I've played Darth Vader. I've played Colossus in Deadpool. I'm the Predator in The Predator. I'm Godzilla in the movie Godzilla. But we also work on a lot of video games. And when you're there on the set, you do the voice for them as best you can. So a lot of the directors know that I can voice and that I can act. And they're like, hey, I'm working on another project. Would you mind coming in and just doing a quick audition to see how you sound? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I did a whole bunch of characters. I think it was like 3 of them. And they really liked the sound of one named Birdie, which is odd because that was the one furthest away from my normal way of speaking. I'm American, but Birdie, they wanted this heavy Cockney accent. And I was just like this, just looking in, whatever came out of my mouth, I just say what I want. And they were like, you know what? We like that. And I'm like, are you serious? So we jumped on it, and they directed me all the way through it. And they really helped me along with the dialect, but it's a fun character. And Birdie's been around for a long time. It's fun to watch him evolve.
Yeah, he's been around, you mentioned, for a long time. And in terms of Street Fighter as well, I suppose the movie itself back in the early 90s, you mentioned that you have sort of a background sort of role in that.
Yeah. I was just an extra. I was kind of starting out, and I was with my friends who were also martial artists. And they're like, yeah, we need a whole bunch of martial artists. You guys all just show up. We'll either have you do this or we'll have you fight over there. And that's kind of what it was. We watched Jean-Claude Van Damme do his thing and the other actors do their things. And we were always nearby, but we were just watching and hoping that someday we could do that as well. But we were just happy to be a part of it. And we loved Street Fighter. So it was a double bonus for us to be able to be on the set, be in the movies, and work on a title that we all knew and loved.
And you mentioned you were part of the background in terms of Street Fighter, the movie. One of the big revelations that came out of it was, God forbid he's not with us, but Raul Julie was very ill at that time doing the movie Street Fighter. In fact, he was on his way out, as we knew. Did you ever come across him, or was that sort of apparent to you that he was in sort of ill health, or as were extras, were you aware of it at all?
I remember seeing him. He had the cool shoulders and the cool hat, and I'm like, oh, that's that guy. So you didn't know. None of us knew. He looked strong and powerful and virile, and he's such a powerful actor that when he's on, he's focused and disciplined. So we didn't sense any of that. We just saw how strong he was. But it was a great loss. He's one of the greatest actors of that time, and it was so fun just to be near him and watch him work.
And TJ, you mentioned you've been involved in a whole load of video games and voiceover characters. And when you go in and you sort of see a script for a character, do you need to see drawings of that character in terms of animations, or do you need to see maybe a previous background of a video caption, just to give you an idea so you can formulate what he might look like in your head?
Absolutely. It helps. I can't tell you how much it helps to have a picture of the character, to see the character move, or to see anything that the character's done in the past, to give you a flavor of who they are or where they're from. It really, really helps. If I see that he's big and he's got a big chest, perhaps I will make my voice more powerful like that. Or if he's a smaller little character and he wants to do something special, then I'll perhaps do this. But the picture really tells 1,000 words. It's like they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and it really helps you hone in your performance to whatever that might be. And then the director, a good director, will also help you. And in this case, our director was named Jonathan Klein, and he was also working with the I believe it was the Japanese Capcom team at the time that was helping us direct and hone all of the performances here in Los Angeles. And all of those things together really, really help.
And TJ, some of those scenes, obviously Street Fighter being a fighting sort of game, there's obviously dialogue between sort of two characters before a fight sort of commences. And in terms of being in a voiceover sort of studio, are they all sort of shot separately and then put together, or do you need to be in the same room with the other person to get a go between an over and back sort of situation to, I suppose, echo real life sort of, so you know when to come in and come out?
It's really rare when voice actors are in the same room. And it's even more rare now during the times of COVID, because we are often in our home studios, or they will sanitize the entire area before another human goes into the thing. But even before then, it's really rare to have the actors in the same place at the same time. So sometimes they'll play you a voice clip, and sometimes they'll just read a line. They'll say, hey, where are you going? And then your character will answer, none of your business. How's that? And then you'll just have to act your way through it and guess and imagine your way through it. But we were rarely in the same place at the same time. In fact, yeah. I rarely see the faces of the other actors. And then when we find we're on the same game, we're like, wait, you were on Street Fighter? I was on Street Fighter. Who are you? My friend Lauren Landa, she's amazing. She is a character in Street Fighter, and we just talked about it the other day. She's like, oh, my character. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, we are rarely there at the same time.
And TJ, in terms of Street Fighter as well, you've been in many projects. I was speaking to David Lodge, who played the character Cabal. He's another voiceover actor in Mortal Kombat, and he said to me that in terms of auditions, and it's going from one project to the next project, and sometimes you don't have time to see back your own sort of work But as being a Street Fighter sort of fan, did you obviously want to see what they look like on screen or on set? And was it important to you to see back the animated product?
Absolutely, man. I'm a fan. I play video games though. I love playing video games. I'm a character named Lucian in a video game called League of Legends, and I love playing video games, whatever it is. So if I got to voice one, I love to go see how it turned out and how it went. Not everybody is a fan of video games or animations. They don't always watch their own work, and I'm not necessarily watching to see how I did, but I want to hear a sample of it, and I enjoy playing the game. It's a great game. It always has been. It's a game of personal development and button mashing and luck and skill, and it's just pure fun. So if you enjoy video games, you enjoy the genre that you work in.
And TJ, one thing I suppose that came up in the Mortal Kombat documentary that we did was the success of how Mortal Kombat made its transition from a fighting game to the big screen in terms of movies, in terms of TV series. It had Mortal Kombat Legacy, Mortal Kombat Conquest, a new movie coming out again in 2021 with Louis Tan being involved in it, and it's supposed to be along the lines of The Dark Knight and Joker. So that's made a successful transition from fighting game into on terms of the big screen. Why do you think that has succeeded where franchises like Street Fighter and Tekken have failed to do so far?
I think they really enjoyed getting into the characters and the separation of the characters. Whereas a lot of the others, they don't spend enough time getting into the characters. It's all about the characters. That's why we play the game. We want to spend time with all the characters. I believe that Mortal Kombat was about the characters. Whereas, for instance, Street Fighter was kind of about Van Damme. So do you understand the difference? So yeah. It's not about, for the guys who grow up and the girls who grow up playing these video games, they relate to the characters that they've spent so much time with. Not the movie star. They don't care about the movie star. It's great if they have movie stars, but they want to see their characters. When you stood in front of Goro and Goro was 7.5 feet tall with 4 arms, and you're like, whoa, and he was huge. He was massive on the stage. He comes across in the movie as well. And then when you see all this magical new universe and you get to see Raiden and his electricity run through his veins and all of that stuff, you get excited. And Sub-Zero and Scorpion, that's amazing. They really, really made it about those characters and those character stories and what they do. That made it magical. And they really took us on that hero's journey, which made it fun.
And I suppose you mentioned a good point there, TJ, in terms of the video games itself. If you ask every person throughout the world, they probably would have heard of Scorpion or heard of Sub-Zero. They probably wouldn't have known who played them in most cases, but they would have known the characters. But in terms of Tekken or in terms of Street Fighter, as you mentioned, it's probably the actor that they're more aware of than the actual sort of a character as such. So in terms of that, do you think it's really the backstories of the characters that are so vast in Mortal Kombat that has made it that is really there's an encyclopedia there and such in terms of dialogue compared to Street Fighter and Tekken? Do you think there needs to be more backstories to most of these characters?
Well, most of the characters, at least in Street Fighter, they do have backstories. Now you can solidify them. You can make them universal so they all belong in the same world or at least in the same story, which, for instance, Marvel has done very well. They have codified their entire universe so that it belongs in the same place at the same time. You start with the characters that people love. Then, if you're lucky, you can afford actors that people also love. Then, if you're lucky, you get a good director and you get a good team behind you that puts that entire package together and makes it good enough for the entire audience, not just the tiny small part that just loves Street Fighter or just loves comic books, but you make it enjoyable for everybody. If you can put all those elements together, you end up with the Avengers, you end up with Iron Man. That's amazing. If you miss one of those pieces, you end up with something less, and we expect more now. So we want that amazing package to come together and to take us on our childhood fantasies that we had when we were playing the games, and we imagined ourselves as that character on the screen.
And do you think we're NetherRealm now are really pumping the money into the Mortal Kombat franchise now at the moment, and it seems almost like James Bond, it'll go on for the next 20 or 30 years. Do you think Capcom are probably scared of the last project in terms of its reception to make the joust again, to go back in that lines? Or do you think this time around, because the barriers are so unique in terms of what Dark Knight did, what Joker did, the more sort of darkness in movies, that a Street Fighter movie this time wouldn't be more seen as campy as, dare I say it, the last one?
Well, the other one was made to be campy. They took a style and they ran for it. Unfortunately, they were wrong, and hopefully they learned from their lesson. The old Batman was campy. The television version of Batman was campy, and it was right for the time. The new Batman is very dark, very serious most of the times. That works. That's great. I'm sure that Capcom is listening to their audience. I'm sure they're watching and learning every step along the way, and I'm sure they're going to make adjustments to make their next product right on target.
And TJ, in terms of being a voiceover actor as well as a martial arts artist and as well as an actor, I suppose when you voice a character, speaking to David Lodge about this, being a voiceover character, it means that your face sometimes is not showing, so you're not solidified to the character. So it means if new movies or new video games come about, you can play for a different characters from the character you were in the last sort of video game as well. So it opens up so many opportunities that you could be involved in the one video game every 2 or 3 years, but playing a different sort of character each time.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. And I can work from video game to video game to video game, even though they're competitors. They don't care about me. They're just like, oh, give us the voice for this character. That's all we care about, which is the way it should be. You should try to get the best talent you can to make the best product you can. And for me as a player, I want to hear that voice and be like, oh man, this guy is so cool. I love this guy. So that's what I want. I want to be the best actor I can be to deliver the best character I can.
I suppose, TJ, finally, before I let you go, I suppose you voiced the character Birdie. If you just sum him up in your own 2 words, if someone put him into a dictionary, I know you voiced him, but in terms of what did he sound to you? What was your sort of portrayal? What did you make him out to be as a type of character as well? As a person, if Birdie was sitting beside you right now, well, how would you sum him up?
I would invite him to lunch because Birdie, I remember when I was a kid, Birdie was yoked. He was strong and cut and big and yoked out. Now he's let himself go a little bit and he's a little more plump and he does not care. He is just as strong. He is just as tough. And now he's got this chain, which he'll jump rope with and smack you upside the head. It is awesome. So first I'd be polite and then I'd invite him to lunch. But he's fun. He is pure fun. He's got attacks where he attacks you with his bubble gum. That is pure awesome. I love that. So I'm happy to keep voicing Birdie because he is pure joy.
On that note, TJ Storm, a pleasure talking to you this evening, sir. Hopefully many more voiceovers to come, many more roles in Street Fighter. And who knows, if there's a new movie in the pipeline, maybe Capcom will see Mortal Kombat and they'll go to war like they did again in the 90s. And obviously that might lead to a movie opportunity. And who knows, a cameo role for TJ Storm.
I would love my camera's going off. I would love that. I love Mortal Kombat. I love Street Fighter. I love video games. So thanks for taking the time and let's fight.
Cheers. Take care. Take care. Thanks a million.
Take care, brother.
Take care.